morning, friends and enemies. We are here live every single Monday morning to recap every single game from the previous week's slates as it relates to fantasy football. So we're going to go game by game, breaking down the box scores, breaking down the snap percentages, the route percentages, all that juicy stuff for y'all so that we can either panic together or I can tell y'all to relax and not panic following week one of fantasy football. Listen, if your team had a bad week, you join 85% of people. This was not a great start to the fantasy football season. If you didn't have an elite quarterback, if you didn't have one of the studs up top, your team probably hovered around the 100-point mark, all right? Not much higher, not much less, 10 points, give or take. There just was not a lot of scoring in this one. All the top wide receivers absolutely shanked their projection. It was ugly. And I think I saw a stat somewhere that going into Sunday Night Football, there had not been a 30-point fantasy scorer on the week. That was the first time ever in week one that we went into a Sunday Night Football matchup without a 30-point score. But that should tell you how the week went. And we've been seeing that more and more in recent years in terms of week one scoring and just the sloppiness and the decay of offenses in week one, because a lot of them just simply don't play in preseason and, it boils over. And some of them that do play in preseason, they don't use the actual play calls and the offensive system that they want to use in the actual regular season because they don't want to give it away and put it on tape. So it's a lot of sloppiness, but we're here to tell you that you should panic on some players. You shouldn't panic on other guys. All right, we're going to get into the root cause of every problem that I have in my entire life right now, football aside. All right, let's jump right into the week one game. Dallas at Philadelphia. Philly 24-20, big week one win. I'll tell you what I was encouraged by. I'll tell you what I was not encouraged by. Dak Prescott looked phenomenal despite the box score. 21 for 34, 188, only 5.5 yards per attempt. But I will tell you what, that man was throwing the rock anywhere. He was placing it in the bosoms of his receivers. And they just continuously drop that shit over and over again. I mean, he was putting pinpoint accuracy on sideline throws outside the hash that only, the top pocket passers can really dominate for you. So when I'm looking at Dak and I'm looking at this offense overall, this one has me optimistic. CeeDee Lamb, played really well. George Pickens was shadowed entirely by Quinyon Mitchell the entire game. They kept CeeDee in the slot. They kept George Pickens on the outside as expected, but he's not going to have as many tough matchups against a guy like Quinyon Mitchell throughout the remainder of the season. So much better days ahead. George Pickens is going to be one of those guys that may be a little bit lower volume. It's annoying because if you owned him last year, you're like, man, are we ever going to get games where, he has more than 6 or 7 targets and then he goes over to Dallas and you're like, hell yeah, we go to a high volume passing offense. And then you realize it's like, yeah, you know what? Dallas actually throws the ball like 10 more times per game than Pittsburgh does, but they also have a dude in CeeDee Lamb who commands 15 targets per game. So, it is what it is. I'm still fine with George Pickens. Javonte Williams, I mean, he gets in for 2 touchdowns. This feels like this was unsurprising in the fact that he was the workhorse. I think like everything throughout the summer kind of led us to believe that he was clearly going to be the starter. And it's a lot of the sentiment that I've been saying to you guys all offseason. It's just like rushing touchdowns are simply a product of the offense. Like 15 for 54 on the ground, 3.6 yards per carry is nothing special whatsoever. He looked relatively good. It's honestly probably the best on the ground he's looked in a couple of years. Like he had a little bit of juice here and there. But the touchdowns, like, of course, if you're going to end up inside the 2-yard line or whatever, like you're going to have a very high scoring opportunity. Obviously, Jalen Carter spitting on Dak, getting ejected right away is going to leave some gaping holes in the middle of that defensive line. Milton Williams is not there anymore. So like there are, and Josh Sweat is at, so there is some questions on the Eagles front seven and how effective they're going to be stopping the run. But when Jalen Carter's back on the line, it's obviously going to be way fewer holes in the front seven for guys like Javonte to walk through. But overall, I feel good about Javonte right now. If you were someone who kind of faded running back until round 9, round 10, you could probably throw him in on a weekly basis as a low-end RB2 flex play with the thought that, like, the way I think you should look at rushing touchdowns outside of guys like Derrick Henry who rip them off for 60-yarders are like, okay, if I look at this box score and he doesn't score a touchdown, how am I feeling? Like, that's probably what we're going to get out of Javonte every other week. But if Dallas is good and they're moving the ball well, then he should be in line for touchdowns every other week or so. So Javonte, good game, obviously. On the other side of the ball, it's like people acting surprised that some of the receivers had down games. This was quite literally their game plan every single week last year. It was like, we're the Eagles. We have a great offensive line. We have a good defense that's going to stop teams. Let's dominate through the ground. And that's what we saw. Jalen Hurts attempted 23 pass attempts here. As you could see, the team ran the ball 38 times. Obviously, the outlier of A.J. Brown getting a single target, Devontae Smith getting 3 targets is something a little bit different, not something we're expecting week over week over week. But I do think, like, you signed up for the type of offense that the Eagles are going to have, right? You signed up for the fact that this was exactly the game plan that got them to the Super Bowl. And I get it. Like, their defense might take a step back. They might be in more, neutral game scripts, but even in neutral game scripts, when they're not dominating, you could see what they want to do. And it's give Saquon a million touches. It's Jalen Hurts scrambling a lot. He looked as good scrambling on Thursday Night Football as he's looked at any point in his career. Like, he looks spry, man. So, I'm not panicking on these Eagles wide receivers. I'm just looking at them the same way I was looking at them all summer, is that this is going to be a very, very run-heavy offense. One thing I want to point out is Saquon Barkley's snaps here. If we go over the running back position, this screen is on fantasylife.com. They put together all this data for us Monday morning, which is fucking the most beautiful thing ever. Saquon Barkley, 80% snap guy, not surprising whatsoever. But one takeaway that I do want to have here with Saquon, this is something I think I tweeted out a couple of weeks ago that I didn't think is like a big deal, but I thought it was something worth noting. With Kenneth Gainwell out in Pittsburgh now, Saquon Barkley, like, 2-minute drill, 4-minute drill snaps, 100% of them. That was not, we can simply just go back to last year's numbers. He was only at 55%. Kenneth Gainwell was chewing up 42%. He was in on 39% of the long down and distance snaps. In 2025, with no Kenneth Gainwell, I mean, Saquon's floor from a receiving standpoint, he might kind of like back his way into, 50 catches, which on top of his rushing load is crazy. Will Shipley went down with a rib injury. I'm not sure what the overall prognosis is on him, but I'm not worried about Will Shipley kind of diving into it. But I will say, like, I think Saquon's going to play on a lot of long down distance snaps, a lot of 2-minute snaps in this offense without Kenneth Gainwell there. So I think that boosts his floor a little bit. And as I said, this is the fantasylife.com website. Quite literally, like, the utilization report that they put out every week is the single best resource probably in fantasy football right now, with them gathering all of this data, short down and distance, inside the 5 rush attempts, long down and distance, 2-minute snaps. The utilization score is really a great fucking product. And you can see how smooth it is just switching from position to position. This is something that I will be using probably forever, as long as they have it. You guys can go sign up for any Fantasy Life Plus membership on their website. We've got a link down below in the description. When you check out there, if you use code BDGE, you're going to get 20% off. So you can get a year-long subscription, and it's really not even that expensive. And you can get access to this to help you make, like, the best decisions in your fantasy league. Just use code BDGE. You'll get 20% off, and you'll be able to look at this stuff anytime you want. They have a million other things on their website as well that you can tinker around with and, sync your league and look at whatever type of league settings or league scoring that you're in. But I mean, this stuff is invaluable for us as redraft fantasy football players. So moving on, we have the Chargers and the Chiefs, and man, I don't even know where to start in this one. We'll start with the Chargers. Justin Herbert, this might have been the best game I've ever seen him play. He was unreal in this game. And what's even more surprising is just like the lack of running back carries in this one. Herbert threw the ball 34 times. They ran the ball 25, but 7 of them were Justin Herbert runs. And I actually want to see if they have, let me see, quarterback. They do have design rush attempts. That's beautiful. So if we head over to the Chargers tab. Okay, so 100% of snaps, 0% designed rush attempts, 10% of scrambles. So when we were looking at this, that means that the Chargers actually called 41 pass attempts to 18 rush attempts. that is like not what we were expecting. Maybe that was just a pure game plan going against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I have to say, I tweeted out a video like the day after this game, and the compilation of the pockets that Herbert had, unbelievable. Like, he was standing there for a good 5 to 6 seconds. There was no pressure from the Kansas City base 4 rush. When they blitzed, they put a little pressure, and that's when Herbert struggled a little bit. But outside of that, Kansas City got zero pressure when they were blitzing their base 4. And I think that's probably more telling about the Kansas City pass rush than it is, there's no way like the Chargers O-line is probably good, but they don't lose Rashawn Slater and then become elite because of it. I think that's going to be more problematic on the Kansas City side, just them not being able to get into the backfield without Spagnuolo dicing up blitzes. It was pretty fucking ugly out there, but Herbert looked, you give that man a clean pocket. I don't know if there's a better thrower of the football on earth. I just question, when it's the big time moments, when it's pockets are collapsing, there could be some problems back there. But for the rest of the team, you talk about the backfield. Omari Hampton dominated touches, 81% of snaps, rush attempts, ran 60% of the routes, all short down and distance, 82% of the long down and distance snaps. Like, you couldn't have asked for a better run out for Omari Hampton in week 1. I also think that was kind of obvious coming off of Najee Harris missing the last 2 months. I do think Najee Harris will get a little bit more involved in this offense as he gets more into game shape, but I don't think you can just throw him out there in a new system without, playing the last the last month or two of football. So I do think that snap count will probably be closer to like, 70-30 over the course of the next couple of weeks. But you can't ask for more for Omari Hampton in terms of usage. He didn't have like that big of a day, only 15 for 48 on the ground. The Kansas City run defense is still anchored by Chris Jones, and that's always going to be a tough one to run against. Omari Hampton's a funny dude, man. Like, he's like a bowling ball build, and he's got this like real sneaky explosiveness. You give him the hole, and he turns into this fucking little squirrel real quick, but he kind of like runs a little bit out of control a lot, right? Like, it feels like every play that he's running at one point or another, like he's turned around fully. Like, he does a full one, like his back is to the end zone. No matter what play they call, like he's at some point or another, he did a full spin throughout the run. And it's not because he hit the B button on an Xbox controller. Like, it's kind of funny, but he's powerful. He's explosive. Like, there are really good days to come with Hampton. I will say with Herbert too, like, obviously a very good game. You're not going to get much better games than this, but I do really like to see the designed or the scrambled runs from him. I think that's going to end up being a big part of this offense for him. I think Greg Roman pretty much like solidified the summer. He was like, yeah, that's going to be something that I want to see more out of Herbert. And Herbert's a very good athlete. So that was good. Quentin Johnson balled out 5 for 79 and 2. Ladd McConkey did his normal 6 for 74. Keenan Allen, man, led the team in targets with 10 of them. This was another one that, like, Keenan, when he was signed, it felt pretty obvious that he was going to have a big role in this offense, right? Like, 2 years removed, or a single year removed from having a monster year with Herbert. Like, they're very clearly comfortable together. I think all three of these receivers obviously need to be owned in fantasy football. You're obviously still ranking Ladd very high. Quentin Johnson, he's a big play guy. He's clearly developed into a much better receiver than he was as a rookie. Like, he is a legit playmaker at this point. Extremely good athlete. Seems to be the downfield threat that they want to use in this offense. Explosive playmaker, where Ladd and Keenan are both like, solid, eat up chunk yards, short, intermediate part of the field. And when you got Herbert's arm, when you got the blocking up front that Herbert's getting, he's going to have time to throw to guys like Quentin Johnson. But we saw games like this from Johnson last year, so I wouldn't expect crazy consistency. But you could definitely do worse in your lineups than Johnson. On the flip side, it doesn't get much worse than what we're seeing out of the Kansas City offense. It's crazy. This team went from like just a few years ago must-watch TV to like hard-to-watch TV, like overnight when they get rid of Tyreek and Travis Kelce's now old. Like, speaking of Kelce, feels like people who drafted him are going to catch another lucky break this year with all the injuries and the suspension. So we'll start with Xavier Worthy, who dislocated his shoulder. We don't have, at least as of this stream, we don't have a finite answer or don't have a finite timeline of when we should expect him to return. What I'm hearing right now is minimum of 3 weeks, most likely. There is a path where he can opt to have surgery, and then that will keep him out for the remainder of the season. So I believe the way that this pretty much works is like, for long-term health, for the ability to have like sustained shoulder health and not have these dislocations continue to recur, having surgery early would be the smart move. But obviously these players want to get on the field and they want to play early. So I heard some really interesting data this morning from an actual like doctor, sports doctor, that said if Xavier Worthy would return within the next 3 to 4 weeks, the average re-injury or re-dislocation rate for these specific injuries is 50% over the course of the year. You know, I'm just technically a doctor, so don't take my word for it. That was, I believe it was Deepak Chona. Great follow on Twitter. He does a plug on Fantasy Pros every week. I believe he said the recurring injury rate for the dislocation of the shoulder that Xavier Worthy suffered was 50% over the course of the season, which is spooky hours. Yeah, I'm imagining he's going for a second opinion right now. I don't really know, but obviously it's a tough loss for Xavier Worthy. I mean, filling in for him, like obviously we got Rice out for the next 5 weeks. When Rice comes back, if Worthy's still out, like Rice might get 190 targets, even missing the first 6 games. What's an even tougher pill to swallow is like these Hollywood Brown targets, 16 targets, 10 for 99, probably would have been Worthy's. So Hollywood Brown is obviously a must pick up this week. He's going to eat up a lot of the targets that, I mean, they need someone to do something on this offense. Hollywood Brown, Juju's kind of doing the same old thing there. Kelsey broke free on pretty damaged back end defensive play there and you know, snuck in for a 37-yard score. But I again think he just looks old, man. He's not Travis Kelsey anymore. Tyquan Thornton, Mahomes feels really comfortable throwing the deep ball to him. He is like the new deep threat for the Chiefs. And he was a dude who ran, I think it was like low 4.3s coming out of college. Could never get anything going on the Patriots. But Mahomes seems to really like taking shots down the field to him. But yeah, Hollywood Brown is the clear pickup here in the backfield. I mean, we got a fucking mess. This was something that I think we talked about a good bit throughout the offseason, was that one of my concerns for Pacheco was just the involvement for a guy like Kareem Hunt and Brashard Smith. And that was kind of the case here. We had 5 rushing attempts for Pacheco, 5 rushing attempts for Kareem Hunt, 21 routes run for Pacheco, 17 routes run for Kareem Hunt. Both got 3 targets, short down and distance snaps, all Kareem Hunt, long down distance snaps, all Kareem Hunt. Pacheco in there for 2-minute drill, but like it's such a clear committee, and neither of them were able to really get push or have success against what I think is going to be a very, very stout, you know, Chargers run defense here. So not great for Pacheco. I do think better days are ahead. I do think there will be situations where they ride the hot hand on a week-to-week basis, but for right now, it's almost impossible to have confidence in Pacheco. Like, you can't really start Kareem Hunt, but you can't really start Pacheco either until you see more of like a hot hand approach, and Pacheco starts the game off hot and they keep him in right now. So, you know, this was our big concern pretty much all summer, and it kind of came to fruition, unfortunately. Moving to the Sunday slate of games, let's just get this shit out of the way. Baker Mayfield, whatever. Yeah, I mean, Emeka Egbuka, 4 for 67 and 2 touchdowns, pretty much the NFL's worst kept secret at this point. Everyone and their mother and their father and their grandmother and their grandfather and their dog's sister and their fucking brother's second engaged divorced fucking wife's cat knew Emeka Egbuka was going to be a GOAT, and of course he had to pee all over us in week 1. I will say, disappointing game for Mike Evans. Baker had at least like 3 or 4 throws that should have been picked. Xavier Watts, our safety rookie, who's like an absolute ball hawk, probably should have had at least 1 or 2 picks in this game, and things turn out very, very differently, of course. But it didn't fucking happen because we're the Falcons, and that shit never happens, and we don't close games, and we stink, and it's fucking terrible. But sure. Yeah, so I mean, Egbuka and Evans are still must starts. Bucky struggled on the ground a little bit, but still got in through the air. I'm not concerned about him whatsoever. On the flip side of things, we struggled on the ground. Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, just 22 for 48 combined. Not great. The concerning part, again, is one that I've talked about a little bit this summer, is our offensive line, man. Again, we lose Drew Dahlman, our center, to the Bears via free agency. We then lose Caleb McGarry for the season a couple weeks ago with an injury. Then we lose his backup for the season. It's not great on the offensive line. We were a strong offensive line for the last bunch of years, but those 2 guys were like really good at run blocking. And now we don't have them on the O-line anymore. And I could see us struggling a little bit, especially when you're going against a nose tackle like Vita Vea, who just plows through where he's an actual tractor on the football field. So yeah, rushing efficiency is concerned, but I mean, when you're Bijan and you can take 50-yard dump offs to the cribbo, we're not overly concerned from a PPR standpoint. Drake London, 15 targets in this one. Every time Darnell Mooney is off the field, he was a kind of a surprise and active in this one. Every time he's off the field, that ends up meaning Drake London gets a bajillion targets, and we saw that. Now, Drake London did suffer a shoulder injury at the end of this game, and what I've heard so far is that it's likely a minor AC sprain. There is a very real chance that he could suit up next week. I think this is kind of a pain tolerance thing. This is something that you can get an injection for on game day and play through. So I don't think you need to be overly concerned about Drake London. It doesn't seem like it's going to be any sort of like long-term injury that we need to worry about, which is good because, when your guy sees 15 targets, shit looks nicey. If he misses, Darnell Mooney's got to be close. So you're starting Darnell Mooney if Drake London misses. You're probably starting Darnell Mooney as a flex if London is there. If both of them miss the game, I mean, Casey Washington filled in pretty nice. I don't really want to start Casey Washington or Ray McLeod. I'm not mentioning number 8 on there. All right. Bengals and the Browns. I mean, this shit pissed me off so fucking bad, bro. Like, in my biggest league, super flex, I take fucking Jamar Chase at the number 3 pick. End up losing. I think I'm gonna, depending on how DeAndre Swift does, I'm gonna end up losing by like 19 points because Jamar Chase obviously is the woat. What happened here? What happened is Joe Flacco is a check down fucking scam. And basically, they just kept going like 4 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards, and ran 1,000 plays. Like you could see Flacco, 45 attempts, Joe Burrow, 23 attempts. Rushing, 24 to 23. Like Cleveland dominated game script because Cincinnati's defense is atrocious, obviously. And they were just like minimal plays over and over and over. Like, how do you have the ball with that many plays and that kind of possession when you're averaging 2 yards per carry and 6.4 yards per attempt? So it was just a lot of game script where the clock was just getting chewed up by Cleveland, going for 4 yards at the exact right time when they needed it, when it was 3rd and 3. So yeah, not great for Cincy. Obviously, this is how they started out last year. Abysmal week 1, even a bad week 2 for Joe Burrow last year too. But they play the Jags, so I think everything will be righted. We're obviously not panicking against Cincinnati. Chase Brown, if there was any concern about how fucking involved this dude was going to be, every single running back carry. 21 out of 21 running back carries, 3 targets in this one. Like, he is going to be a true workhorse. Obviously got nothing going on the ground, but that's the Bengals offensive line for you. On the flip side, Joe Flacco, again, 45 pass attempts. This is what they're going to do when Judkins is not playing. Judy, 5 for 66. Now, we have a few like real takeaways here. Week 1 is when you need to start making decisions that really impact down the stretch. And the Browns feel like there are some names here that are going to be those names where people are going to get spicy in week 1. You guys know I've been on Dylan Sampson pretty much since the draft happened. One of my favorite prospects in the draft class. Didn't run well in this one, but I mean, Jerome Ford, 1.3 yards per carry. Dylan Sampson, 2.4. So you could look at it relative to, his running mate. No one ran well on the rushing side of things, but Dylan Sampson, 8 catches for 64 yards. Sampson's, it's an interesting case because it's like Flacco has become this check down artist. It's like what he does, right? He's this check down merchant that loves to just go to his first, second read. If they're not there, it's auto a shot to his running back. And that just happened to be Dylan Sampson. When we look at the snaps, when we look at the splits, this is one of the more interesting ones to check out here. Dylan Sampson, 45% of snaps, Jerome Ford, 52%. But Dylan Sampson, 52% of rush attempts. He actually ran fewer routes, which is interesting, but that also means that Jerome Ford was likely playing on those, those earlier downs where he's running a lot of routes as well. But in terms of actual production, like, it wasn't even close. Dylan Sampson, 53% target per route run rate, 38% short down and distance for both of them. Jerome Ford was the only guy to get an inside the 5-yard line rush attempt. I thought I saw Dylan Sampson get into the end zone and it was called back on a penalty or something, and that's when Raheem Sanders came in and took the goal line work. But yeah, I mean, Dylan Sampson, if he's going to be the dude that gets all of the like third down work and gets, it's interesting because he didn't even really get that. Like the long down distance was Jerome Ford. The 2-minute snaps were Jerome Ford there. But Dylan Sampson was a guy that got so many of the checkdowns from Joe Flacco. And I do think he profiles much better as a third down back. With Judkins, we're still kind of waiting. We're up in the air on like what the resolution from the league is. Apparently, I believe he's meeting with the league at some point this week to see if there's going to be discipline. Because even though got, thrown out in real life court, the NFL can still discipline players regardless of what happened in the court system for the great United States of the America. So there's a chance that they go in there and they drop it and Judkins can play as early as next week. I think what will happen realistically is Sampson's still going to play a lot. I think Judkins will come in and basically monopolize everything Jerome Ford's done and everything Raheem Sanders has done, which could be good because I think that means Judkins could catch a lot of passes. He could just be right place, right time, early down roll guy that catches a bunch of checkdowns from Joe Flacco. But I mean, the drafting of Judkins and Sampson back-to-back in this same draft class kind of tells you like Jerome Ford's clearly not their guy in this backfield. There's also a world where Judkins goes in there and they discipline him and say, hey, you're going to be suspended for 2 games or 3 games or 4 games. And then it's more of this rotation, which would get me really high on Dylan Sampson for the next, bunch of weeks. But again, this was the Cincinnati defense, so hard to get over our skis. But yeah, I mean, Sampson's likely going, barring something happening on Monday Night Football, Sampson's probably going to be our top running back pickup of the week. And I don't think it's particularly close. It's getting hot in here. What else we got to talk about? Harold Fannin Jr., man, the leading receiver in all of college football last year, comes in, and I wish he didn't go to the Browns because it makes it such a messy situation. Like, he played much better than Njoku yesterday, but he still ran fewer routes, saw more targets, had a much higher target per route run rate, played really well. I just, when I look at it, it's like 7 for 63, Njoku 3 for 37. It's hard to wrap your mind around it because it's a 1-week sample size. Like, I don't think Njoku's going anywhere unless they trade him in terms of play time. Part of it feels a lot like last year, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely week 1, where it's like, am I really going to overspend on a backup tight end? You know what I mean? Like, am I really going to just assume Fannin starts to take more snaps and becomes like this high target earner in this offense when they have all these other weapons? There's part of me that wants to believe that because I think Fannin's such a good receiver and he was so fun in college and he was so dynamic. And Joe Flacco's probably going to throw the ball 1 million times per game. But there's a part of me that's like, man, I remember last year when people were spending 40% of their budget, 50% of their budget on Isaiah Likely, and then he just donuts like the rest of the year. So I get it. I think he's a little bit of a high-risk guy if you end up putting a lot of money in on him in a fab bid, but I don't really blame you. There's been consistent hype about him all summer. Joe Flacco clearly really, really likes him. I think he'll continue to be a very high snap guy because I think what they'll end up doing is running a ton of 12 personnel. Like, it makes sense given their personnel, right? Like 2 wide receivers, Judy and Tillman, and then 2 tight ends, Njoku and Harold Fannin. Like, those are the best pass-catching weapon groups you could possibly have in this offense. So I could see them both running a lot of routes, and if Fannin's already a better receiver or route runner than Njoku, then, yeah, he might out-target him there. And the Browns are going to be a team that passes the ball a lot, at least for the foreseeable future while he is out. I also want to say, like, Cedric Tillman was one of our kind of like under-the-radar guys all summer, and he continues to kind of eat when he is put in a position to do so. And I want to say he was out there for like every one of the snaps. Yep, 96% route guy, same exact target share as Jerry Jeudy, and produced, right? Caught the touchdown, and shit was nice. Shit was nice out there for Tillman, so he will absolutely be a waiver wire target in this week as well. Okay, we got Indy and Miami. The fucking joke of the week here, 33-8 in favor of Indy. My throat's starting to get on fire here. So I will say this summer, there were basically 2 teams that I was completely fading going into the year. They were both in the AFC East. We hit one out of the park miraculously, and we got hit in the head with a fastball. 107 miles per hour with the other one. But we'll start with the good stuff here. Miami. This was a team that I was pretty much staying away from, except for Devon Achane. Like, he was the only guy. I wanted nothing to do with Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle. Loved Achane. And that feels like a very good bet that I had made in the offseason. This team was a tragedy. And I think what I'm going to start doing throughout some of these Monday streams, and I'm taking this from the Ringer Fantasy Football Podcast. They have like a section that they do called like intrusive thoughts, which I think is awesome, and I love it. And it's basically like, like what are some of your intrusive thoughts that you have throughout a Sunday? Like an intrusive thought is not, it's like one that I don't want to be held to, but it's like one that I couldn't help myself but having. And they're always like dramatic and they're over the top and they're overreaction. And I want to start, throwing out some more intrusive thoughts throughout some of these streams. And we kind of stole that. And we're using that in some of our betting podcasts as well. Each week we're making a parlay where we string together, each person picks an intrusive bet that they want, where it's just like, yeah, you know what? I think Jonathan Taylor's going to run for 200 yards this week. But my intrusive thought is, I think Miami's pass defense might be a historically bad pass defense this year. Like, I think they might be an all-time bad pass defense over at least the last 25 years. I mean, they have no cornerback depth. They had another injury in this one. They had guys that were out for the season during the summer after they had already gotten rid of their top. Like, they have probably the worst receiving or cornerback fucking situation in the NFL. I don't think it's close. They got Minkah Fitzpatrick back, but outside that, the safety position is a fucking mess as well. So, like, this could be a team that puts up all-time good fantasy points for the other team against you. Tua was putrid, throwing the ball to the other team, getting fumbling, getting hit all the time. Their offensive line's a mess. Tyreek Hill was terrible, 4 for 40. Jalen Waddle, 4 for 30. Devon Achane got in because he caught an 11-yard touchdown, which was on a horribly designed play. It was like 4th and 8, and they threw like a screen pass to Devon Achane behind the line of scrimmage. Like, he's awesome, and he got in because of it, but like, what the fuck are you doing, Mike McDaniel? If I'm a Dolphins fan, man, you are in a bad situation with all the money you have tied into Tua, and I don't even know what to do. The vibes out there are horrendous. But if you're an HN owner, like, this is about as bad as it's going to get. When you look at, I don't know if they have time of possession down here. The time of possession was something like just unrelatable. Where the fuck is it? I think it's on the Gamecast. I got Gamecast, motherfucker. Did I pass it? There's time of possession somewhere. Here we go. 38-43 to 21-17. Like, that shit just doesn't happen. That's not a real game. So, better days ahead relatively, but also good to see Achane just get through absolutely, no marks, not bruised, not battered, no injuries, nothing like that. Ollie Gordon barely played in this one. Not like they really had a lot of snaps in here, but we'll take the snap counts at face value. 72% of the snaps for Achane over Ollie Gordon's 26%. They did not have any carries inside the 5-yard line, so we don't really get a hint at that. But Achane, again, is such a good red zone target that we still feel good about him there. Who do they play next week? Miami plays the Patriots, so maybe they'll have Christian Gonzalez back. But yeah, I don't know how you start Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle outside of like desperate flex plays. On the flip side, Daniel Jones played out of his mind. Jonathan Taylor played really well, but he did have 2 of his goal line scores vultured by Daniel Jones. DJ Giddens is clearly the very, very high-end handcuff here. If you're a Jonathan Taylor owner, DJ Giddens makes a lot of sense to pick up. Michael Pittman Jr., big day, 6 for 80, touchdown, 8 targets. Tyler Warren, man, he is going to be such a good fucking player. I love watching him play. He is so good. He's an every week fantasy starter at this point at tight end. I can't believe I'm such a fucking bot. I drafted Mark Andrews over Tyler Warren in a league, and I just know as soon as I made that pick, I knew that was going to be the regret of the fucking draft. Horrible drafting. But Tyler Warren's a fucking animal, dude. And I don't really know what to make of the rest of the wide receiver situation. I think we're going to see a rotation of sorts in terms of production on a week-to-week basis. They're not going to play the Miami Dolphins every week. You see the ratio here of 40 to 29. Like in a game where this game script wasn't 38 to 21, or the time of possession wasn't 38-21. This could look more like 32 carries for the team to like 23 pass attempts. And then you're talking about an indented passing target total for all of these players here. So I will say, like, I think there will be games where Josh Downs outproduces Michael Pittman and vice versa, and Alec Pierce catches more deep ones. But I do think Tyler Warren is here to stay, and he's going to be a very consistent part of this passing offense. Raiders and the Patriots. Geno led the league in passing yards, I believe, unless Josh Allen last night. Nah, he didn't go over him. 362. Big day for Geno in terms of passing numbers. We saw our first, glimpse of Genty in the regular season, 19 for 38. Got no running room here. I will say, like, the D-line and the defense of the Patriots against the run is very, very improved. Again, not surprisingly, they got Christian Barmore back. They got Milton Williams via free agency. They signed some linebackers that are pretty good at pressuring and or run stuffing. So it's not going to be a team that's really, really easy to run against anymore, as you can see, but really good to see the involvement for Genty getting 19 of 22 running back carries. We got Brock Bowers eating out here, 5 for 103. He did get hurt, kind of tweaked his knee a little bit. From what I'm hearing, it's not overly concerning. There is a chance he misses some time, but from what I've also heard, there's a chance that he could play as early as next week. So we'll have to keep an eye on practice reports throughout the week. Of course, if he starts the week off limited or gets eliminated in by Thursday or Friday, I'll feel relatively confident in Brock Bowers. If he misses, Michael Mayer is obviously a smash pickup in this offense. They just utilize the tight ends so heavily. Big game for Jacoby Myers. Trey Tucker gets the long touchdown catch. Nothing really else to take away from the Las Vegas side of things. New England. So we've got some kind of snaps to break down here for us. I will start with the Patriots side of things, and we'll start with the backfield for the Patriots. So Ramondre outsnapped Travion Henderson pretty significantly, 45-23. Had more rush attempts, ran more routes. He was the early down guy, right? That was something that we were kind of expecting, at least early in the season. And, this is what happens with Travion Henderson when you're not playing against necessarily second and third stringers in the preseason. Every game is not going to be fucking la land where you're busting off 60-yard touchdowns and every run's a touchdown and all of this and that and everything. He's still an incredible player, explosive guy, but there are going to be games like this where the game script just doesn't go in the favor of the rushing game for the New England Patriots. I'm not worried about him long term, but I will say, like, the Patriots offensive line didn't get much push. And this is against a Raiders D-line that really doesn't have much behind Max Crosby there. So, Henderson's still running a decent amount of routes, still getting targeted. He's got a nice, volume floor, I think, in the receiving game. 6 targets, 6 catches, 24 yards. So in PPR, he should be fine. But, the ceiling in games where they don't really get him near the goal line could be a little bit troubling. The receiver room, man. One, I would say Hunter Henry's a really nice tight end pickup, I think. For those of y'all that need to stream this week, Drake May did throw the ball 46 times, so some of these numbers are definitely going to be inflated. Kayshon Boutte continues like a nice little run for the Patriots, man. He seems like he could be the one this year. Like he could develop into the one where really assumed it was going to be Diggs, but when you look at the route counts here, Boutte 83%, Pop Douglas 74%, Stephon Diggs 70%. So third in route percentage. I don't want to go crazy on that because this is 1 week and he's fucking 4% behind Demario Douglas. But I think it is something to note there. He didn't come away with much production. Boutte was the guy that Drake May continuously looked for. Got a decent amount of the end zone targets, got 40% of the air yards. When you're getting, what do you get, 8, 9 targets in this one? 8 targets, and his average depth of target was 17.4 yards downfield. That's serious numbers. You got to keep an eye on that one. So Boutte is a guy that I think you should absolutely be looking at on waiver wires. He was a big-time prospect at LSU. Didn't really pan out as a lot of people thought he was going to, but he was a big-time recruit. Playing wide receiver at LSU by itself just says something. So definitely a player to keep an eye on. Kyle Williams not playing much. He's droppable in redraft. Cardinals and Saints. And I realize there are a lot more people in here now watching and streaming. And again, I just want to throw this plug in here one more time because this is such a good product. This is the fantasylife.com website. Fantasylife.com. This is the Fantasy Life Plus subscription. It has all the snap counts, targets, target rate, like all this stuff. This is the utilization report, and it is an unbelievable product. If you go to fantasylife.com, any subscription you get on there, you can get it for the whole year. I want to say it's like $80 or $100 or something like that. Like some of the best money you'll spend if you are serious about fantasy football. It has all these other tools. Obviously, if you play in these types of leagues, that will be useful to you. But I'll be using the utilization tool weekly in these streams every Monday morning. Of course, if you hop in for the streams and you want to be part of this next week, subscribe to the channel now. But if you subscribe to a Fantasy Life subscription, use code BDGE when you check out. You're going to get 20% off your yearly subscription, which makes it even cheaper for you. Promise you, one of the absolute best tools in the entire industry right now. So smooth, so sexy, so buttery. You know what's not buttery? Spencer fucking Rattler. The Saints lose 13-20 at home. Rattler 214 through the air, adds 29 on the ground. I mean, not a ton to take away from the Saints side of things. Kamara kind of dominates the touches, does get in the end zone. Thought we were going to see a little bit more out of him in the receiving game, but Rattler threw the ball 46 times, which again really inflated some of the receiving numbers here. Juwan Johnson, 11 targets, 8 for 76. He also dropped like a touchdown. That was tough. He got hit from about 17 angles. And the ball popped out. But had he caught that, it would have been a monster game. And again, Juwan was a guy that I had an eye on as like a deep sleeper at the tight end spot, mainly because Taysom Hill's not playing. They don't really have any other tight ends. And the first thing this new regime did when they came on to the New Orleans team was sign Juwan Johnson to an extension. They were like, all right, we got our new coach, we got our new OC. First thing we're doing is giving Juwan Johnson a 3-year, $36 million extension. And he comes out and has 11 targets in week 1. So I'm sure he's going to go back to going like 2 for 22 next week, but worth noting, Chris Olave, 13 targets despite leaving the game about 7 times. I thought he was dead. I thought he broke his ribs. I thought he broke his fucking collarbone. I thought his head exploded. Thought he got CTE in the middle of the game. I thought he got at least 3 concussions. I think he did all of that, to be honest with you, too. I don't think I'm making that up. Still got 13 targets, but obviously didn't lead to much, 7 for 54, but still like to see the target numbers there. For the Cardinals, Kyler Murray looked on and off, took 5 sacks. It's just simply too many. But he did allow Marvin Harrison Jr. to produce only 6 targets, but 5 for 71 and a touchdown. He absolutely gets home for you in the fantasy box score here. You know, there's no one else you're starting besides him and McBride in the passing game. Hopefully we continue to see, good things from Marvin. Kyler Murray, I don't have much else to say. That's a stat line that he's put up a few times last year, and we'll see if that continues. In the backfield, Trey Benson did get quite a bit of run here. I will say he ripped off that 52-yard run. He's a guy that loves to bounce runs outside, very explosive. So when he does hit a hole, there's a decent chance that it goes for a long break. If he doesn't have that one, then you're looking at a 7 for 17, carry line, and you're not overly concerned about it. But when we look at the snap counts, like James Conner still got in for a touchdown, still dominated. 64-34, most rush attempts, ran the most routes, saw a lot of targets, got all the short down and distance, goal line carries, all that kind of stuff. Trey Benson is pretty much operating as their third down back, which is honestly, it's not the worst thing. Like James Conner is still going to be the guy on the goal line and probably keeps him a little bit fresh. So, no concern for Conner. Obviously, if Benson's sitting on your waiver wire, he's someone that you probably want to prioritize. Steelers, Jets. Okay, we get to the other AFC East team where I was firmly fading every Dolphin except Devon Achane. I was fading every single New York Jet. And that couldn't have backfired fucking worse in week 1. But luckily, we don't do all the summer videos for week 1 DFS. If we did, that would have been atrocious. We played for the season long. And honestly, the Jets look pretty fucking good from a fantasy perspective. Breece Hall, where the fuck was this last year? You were fat last year. You were literally Eddie Lacy year 4 last year. And now you're back to Breece Hall. This is fucking fantasy football, man. He looked so good. He looked athletic. He looked explosive. He looked shifty. He looked spry. He looked like he'd been listening to my videos and he fucking hates me. That's what he looked like. 19 for 107 on the ground, 2 for 38 through the air. Dude was ripping off, 8 yards at a time every single time he touched the damn ball. Yeah, he was good. He was good, man. His biggest issue is that he's just clearly not going to score touchdowns. Justin Fields takes 2 rushing scores. Braylon Allen gets the carry inside the 10 and gets a touchdown, like that's going to be a huge concern for Breece Hall. So on days where the holes don't open up huge, we could see some down weeks for Breece Hall. But just from the eye test, he obviously looked phenomenal. Justin Fields is always going to have these high ceiling games, so we'll see if they continue. Garrett Wilson, I mean, him and Fields looked phenomenal together, but again, not really surprised here. Like, Garrett Wilson is a guy who's going to see 10 targets a game. We'll see if this accuracy holds up over the course of the season. I don't know how many games we're going to see where Justin Fields is throwing the ball downfield and also, completing 75 to 80% of his passes. Again, we don't play for week one, but fucking phenomenal things if you ended up going with the New York Jets. They were all pretty much drafted at value. Wilson dropped, Breece Hall dropped. Justin Fields was pretty highly drafted, but this game had a fucking game total of 38.5, or maybe even 37.5 going into the week. Legitimately, they almost each passed that by themselves. So everyone was expecting an absolute shitstorm of a game, and we got the opposite. 66 points fucking scored in this one. Unbelievable. Aaron Rodgers throws for 4 touchdowns. He looked fine. He looked like, I'll say he looked good. A couple of the touchdowns were just like wide open dump offs on the line, on the goal line. One of those like tight end around where you just kind of like shovel it and he gets gets a touchdown for that. He only averaged 5 yards per throw. Like his average depth of throw was only 5 yards. The only quarterback that I saw with a lower ADOT this week was Jalen Hurts. So don't want to get ahead of my skis with the Steelers offense, because realistically, when you look at the rest of the team, their ground game was terrible, 20 for 53 combined. DK Metcalf broke a big play that was, again, not like a deep pass. So I question the long-term viability of this passing offense. We'll see. Backfield, yeah, wonky. One of my plays of the week was Jaylen Warren under 54.5 rushing yards, and we cashed the shit out of that. I actually want to bring this up for y'all. Every week on Twitter and on Instagram, we are going to post a big day parlay. This was week one's big day parlay. And we hit 5 for 5 on this motherfucker. All right. So if you want the week 2 big day parlay, make sure you are following me on Twitter at Nick Ercolano. You can follow all of my bets that I make on Pickett. Absolutely free to join, free to download the app. Use code BDGE when you get on Pickett, and it'll automatically follow my profile and Guts profile, so you can just kind of tail whatever picks you want from ours. But we're starting off hot here. Big day parlay. Jaylen Warren. Yeah, I mean, they've just always used Jaylen Warren as a fake workhorse. Like, he's never really operated as a workhorse, and I didn't think anything was going to change. What I am still pretty surprised by is just the amount of usage that they are giving to Kenneth Gainwell. They clearly trust him. They really like what they have in him. I mean, Arthur Smith is just a fucking weirdo, dude. Where is the Steelers? Why can I not find him? There you go. 50% of the snaps for Gainwell, 46 for Warren. Just an absolute committee here. 1A, 1B type of thing. I do think Warren will definitely end up getting more touches going forward in that backfield. And I think, like, despite the, relatively underwhelming game in week 1, he got into the end zone, so it didn't end up being underwhelming, but I expect better things from Warren going forward for sure. I just didn't really like the matchup in this one. And I thought in week 1, Smith is going to force some sort of like stupid fucking committee, and it happened. More concerning is Caleb Johnson. He's just not playing at all. I can't believe just how little they trust him right now. He only got 2 snaps out of the 54 running back snaps here. So I'm going to hold him for another couple weeks and see if this, if they utilize him a little bit more, they get him, a few more carries or whatever. But, like, obviously not a great start for Mr. Johnstein. Commanders and the Giants. For the Giants, I mean, this was about as brutal of a showing as you can get. I will say a few things. Like, Russ obviously was terrible, 17 for 37. He had pressure in his face on basically every drop back. So I know the popular thing to say right now is you have to start Jackson Dart. You have to get him onto the field. The problem is, like, while I do think that is probably the case and he needs to get on the field sooner rather than later, and I'm excited to see him, I don't think you could put him on the field behind this offensive line right now. Like, it is horrendous. And this is one of those offensive lines with Andrew Thomas, who is ruled out. They're starting star tackle. This is one of those lines where you see a split where it's like, oh, when Andrew Thomas is out, this offensive line crumbles. The EPA per play for the offense crumbles. Like you see this with it's like Lane Johnson. It's Penei Sewell. It's like one of those tackles where it's like when this guy misses, this offense plummets. That's Andrew Thomas to the Giants. And you saw it. If you watched any of that game yesterday, Russ was under pressure like that every time. And I just think it would be fucking malpractice to throw Jackson Dart behind that offensive line. I think that's like a disaster. Now, I think they're going to watch the tape and probably realize that, but I do get that there's going to be this like outstanding pull to want to put him behind there. I think Jackson Dart would be great for Malik, but I will say like just the involvement for Malik, once they get a viable passer or a viable amount of time for the passer to get the ball to Malik, I mean, he's going to go 8 for 120 every single week. It's going to be a movie back there. For the backfield in New York, again, their offensive line, terrible, got absolutely no push. But for the time being, Tyrone Tracy is still very much the workhorse. 73% of the snaps, most of the rush attempts, 67% of the routes compared to just 7% for Scatabo and 13% for Devin Singletary. Saw most of the short down and distance snaps. Scatabo did get the run inside the 5-yard line, but for the most part, Tracy's still the guy. It's just like a matter of, do you want the guy in this Giants backfield? So I don't know who's playable besides Malik outside of when Andrew Thomas is not playing and this offensive line does not take a step up whatsoever. So that could be a little bit problematic for now. But for now, Tyrone Tracy's still the guy here. Washington, Jaden Daniels, played well enough. 233 and touchdown, 68 on the ground. Big story here again, backfield, JCM, Ja'Cory Krosky-Moret, big bill out here, 10 for 82 and a touchdown. He was okay in this game. I will say the box score looks a little bit better than what his involvement really was. He did get, the carry inside the 10-yard line. He made a beautiful bounce to the outside and found the end zone. That was great. Don't want to take anything away from him. The 42-yard run at the end of the game, which really padded his stats, was just that. It was just like running out time. We need a first down, and just a big hole opened up, and he got through. So does end with a really impressive box score, obviously. But I will say, random Chris Rodriguez, healthy scratch, not a special teamer. So, he just sat. I thought he was going to be like one of the carry getters back here. But in terms of snaps, I mean, it was Eckler with 50%. I think they really trust him. I think he's going to stay on the field a pretty decent amount. JCM, 29%, McNichols, 20. I do think this is what's going to end up being the split, though. I do think it's going to be almost 90% of the snaps go to Eckler and JCM. Like, I expect this to boost up to around 40% next week. So I think it'll be like 50, 40, 10. And I think JCM will continue to see more and more of the rushing work in this offense, which is great because this is an offense that's going to continue to score and do really well. So JCM is absolutely a guy moving up after this game. This is how you earn more snaps back here. Terry, bad game. They just didn't connect on some of the deep shots. Low target number. Unfortunately, you might need to, take take a little time to get back to conditioning level for the game after missing most of the summer. And then Debo had a big game. 10 targets, 7 for 77. Also took an end around for a 19-yard touchdown. Debo was not a guy I wanted really any part of during draft season, but I will say I still had him ranked as like a top 18 or 20 guy going into the week. So very high on him this week. I just love the matchup. We'll see if this kind of thing continues as Terry gets more well-conditioned and the matchups aren't the New York Giants. So good start for him, though. Sorry, let me grab some water. My throat is on fire. While I do so, while you guys are just hanging out here, it would mean the world to me. I'm literally lighting my throat on fire for y'all. Just hit the thumbs up button down there. It lets YouTube know that you like these videos. It lets me know. I look at the thumbs up to see which videos you guys like the most. When there are a lot of thumbs up, tells me to keep doing these types of videos, all right? So every single Monday morning around noon Eastern time, I will be doing recaps for the prior week's games, all right? So if you enjoy it again while you're chilling, I'm going to grab a bottle of water real quick, hit the thumbs up button, and subscribe if you're new. All right, we're back from our 6-second break. I actually might go through 3 water bottles through this shit. I think I know why my throat's hurting a lot more. We're filming a lot more content throughout the season now. So obviously I do the fantasy football content, which are long videos. Like this one's going to end up probably being over an hour long. The rankings videos are each like 40, 45 minutes. But then we're doing content on the BDG betting channel, which on YouTube, it's just, specific to betting stuff. Those videos are like, maybe 1 or 2 of them are like an hour long a week. Trivia videos are kind of long too. So Be using my throat a lot. Pause. Yeah, cool. Very cool. Resume. Yeah, we just be talking a lot during football season. And my throat hurts, man. Maybe I got eczema. I don't know. All right. Jacksonville Panthers, 26-10 for the Jacksonville Jaguars' first win. We had a little bit of a lightning delay in this one. Just a brutal run out for Bryce Young and the Panthers. This looked like on paper it was going to be a really, really fun slate, a really, really fun game for fantasy. Turned out that didn't fucking happen. This game stunk. This game sucked. There's literally like one good player in this game, and it was Travis Etienne. So we'll start in Jacksonville where, yeah, I mean, they didn't really have to do much. Trevor Lawrence was playing pretty well early on, and then the lightning delay happened, and then really no one played well after the fact. But Travis Etienne really took hold of the backfield. He busted off his 71-yard run early on, and then it was just his backfield to be had there. And I think that's really probably what Liam Cohen was kind of waiting for. I think he was just waiting for someone to really like be the guy back here and take control and say like, this is my fucking game. I'm the best player back here, and we're going to ride the hot hand. And Etienne absolutely has it right now. So we'll see how long that continues. And obviously Etienne is going to move forward as a starter, and he was a starter in this game, outsnapping all the other guys by a significant portion. But I can still see a world where like if Etienne comes out the gate and struggles and like Tank Bigsby rips off a 15-yard run next week after Etienne has a bunch of like dust carries, then maybe he rides the hot hand there. So I'm not going to like, cement Travis Etienne as a league winner right now, but obviously a very, very good start if you ended up drafting him late in your drafts. And they're playing the Bengals next week, so he's going to be someone that you feel really, really comfortable getting into your lineup now that he's kind of separated himself from these other three backs. Bad game from Brian Thomas Jr., obviously. 7 targets, but we're going to need to get a little bit better. Liam Cohen Jr., like it felt like every pass was just a screen pass at the line of scrimmage. And I like that because that's easy PPR numbers. You see Travis Hunter, 8 targets, 6 catches, but only 33 yards. Like we're going to have to get the ball moving downfield a little bit. But I also think they really do want to establish the run here in this offense, similar to how Tampa Bay did so effectively last year with Bucky. So, in games where Travis Etienne rips off really big runs, in games where he's just eating up chunks of 6-7 yards at a time, the passing game is just not going to be as effective. I think Brenton Strange will be a nice tight end streaming option for the remainder of the season, honestly. Hunter, I think, will only continue to get better. And Brian Thomas Jr., I'm not really worried about in the slightest. On the flip side, yeah, Bryce Young, still not great at football. Chuba Hubbard, good to see him just kind of dominate touches. 21 opportunities in this one. Rico Dowdle, 3 carries for 12 yards. So it seems to still be Chuba Hubbard's backfield entirely, which is good to see. From the receiving standpoint, again, no Jalen Coker in this one. Tyrone McMillan dominated the targets, 9 targets, 5 catches, 68 yards. That's probably, what we can come to expect. I do think he'll see, around 9-10 targets a game, especially when Jalen Coker is out. But hopefully we see, more red zone involvement. We need to see the offense move more. And this was such a disappointing outing because they were playing the fucking Jacksonville Jaguars, man. Like this is the defense that you do it against. And they didn't. So not great. I'm still starting Tet on a weekly basis because of his target share, but like in matchups where he's going to see a top cornerback, it could get kind of ugly. Like when George Pickens saw Quinyon Mitchell, Calvin Ridley seeing Pat Surtain, like that might be a sit week for a guy like Tet McMillan. Speaking of, we have the Titans and the Broncos. If anyone expected anything out of the Titans in this one, I think you're a little bit insane. On the road in Denver, 8.5-point underdogs. Cam Ward's very, very first start against probably the league's best defense. Just not. I don't know how you could have expected anything. I think he played fine, to be honest. So he took way too many like really, really big sacks, which he'll have to learn from and not scramble around the pocket. Negative 17 yards, which is what he did in college sometimes. Yeah, he's got to not do that. But the Denver pass rush is just really good. Pollard, unsurprisingly, 19 opportunities in this one. Couldn't really get anything going on the ground. Also unsurprising. For the receivers, Calvin Ridley paces the team with 8 targets, but only 4 for 27. That's what's going to happen when you see the defending depoy in Pat Surtain. Alec Ayamaner, the rookie, 7 targets, second on the team, and he was a big snap guy, and he's someone that I think we should keep our eye on because in better matchups, I do think he'll be seeing much better balls going his way. So 82% of the routes, which was number 2 on the team behind Calvin Ridley here, a 25% target per route rate. I think that's probably a product of not wanting to give Calvin Ridley every target with Surtain on him. But, 19 yards downfield. His average depth of target, 46% of the air yards. Obviously, with a 19 ADOT, your catchable target rate is going to dip from 75 down to 57%, which was the case here. But bigger plays are coming against defenses that are not as threatening. Tennessee plays the Rams, pretty good. The Colts at the Texans, Cardinals. So a mix of very good defenses and definitely ones that you can throw the ball against. So I think better things are coming. And Ayumaner will be on the waiver wire target video for me tomorrow. On the flip side of things, nothing interesting from the receiver standpoint. Cortland Sutton's just due for 15 PPR points every single week. Ingram, I believe, got banged up. I'm not sure what exactly happened to him. Let me look it up right quick. Evan Ingram. Came up limping after the team said it was a calf injury. So he's got a calf injury. We've got to keep an eye out for severity. These could be 2-week things. These could be 1-week things. These could be 4-week things. So should just lead to more targets for a guy like Cortland Sutton. Backfield. Dobbins, 16 for 63, gets that nice little touchdown run. RJ Harvey was obviously like the exciting guy that everybody wants to be this season saver here. Now, there are definitely positives to take away. That 50-yard run he scurried for up the middle was a beautiful fucking run. Like, that's what he brings to the game, like the ability to rip off 50-yard runs on any given play. Tyler Beatty was playing a weird amount of snaps early on. He was the long down and distance guy. That's not going to last much longer, I don't think. I swear, though, I do really still think that the Broncos have a huge issue with the way that I'm not going to go back to fucking everything from yesterday, but I think they have a huge issue with the way that RJ Harvey blocks. And I think that's what's going to keep him off the field for now. Where was it? Benjamin Albright was talking about it at some point yesterday. Running the ball works. There's a big RJ Harvey run. I'm not anti anything. I pro smart football. What the fuck are we doing here? I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm sorry. I remember seeing something yesterday that he was talking about. It's on here. Fuck it. I'm not leaving until I find it. Everyone just take a breath. Take a beat. Harvey is very clearly our best back, and Beatty's outsnapping him. When I tell you that pass protection matters in this offense and the fantasy football guys laugh at it, just remember these splits. Yeah, I think that's like the biggest problem is Harvey was not a good protector. And I don't know that it matters. It's not up to fucking me. It's up to Sean Payton. So if he's not on the field enough to like get enough volume, it's going to be a problem. But again, like those are the kind of runs that earn you more playing time. So I eventually expect, if not by like next week, by week 4, this to be just completely Dobbins and Harvey in this backfield. But Dobbins, is going to be just like a regularly high volume, boring RB that if the Broncos find themselves near the goal line, he's a decent bet to score a touchdown. So yeah. Bo Nix played fucking atrocious, by the way. Possibly the worst quarterback on the slate. Not possibly, actually. I forgot Bryce Young existed. Are you down? All right. 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. Brock Purdy out here playing like Josh Allen. Played pretty well, fantasy-wise. 277, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 17 on the ground. Christian McCaffrey, biggest story of the day for sure. We had all the news about his calf, tweaking on Thursday. And I put out a tweet that went kind of viral. I remember that I just basically quote tweeted a video from last year. It was September 6th last year, and he was asked about his calf Achilles, and he said, it's fine. It feels great. It's good to go. And then obviously missed all of last year. It was literally the same day to that date, a year later, that he was saying that his calf is great to go. Underneath it, I said he's probably going to play and be fine. But I thought it was very funny that it was a year later. And that's what happened. He played. And listen, I don't think he looks like the old player that he was. Like, I just don't think he brings that juice on the ground anymore after all these injuries. And this offensive line is really not doing him any favors right now. They're not a very good offensive line, realistically. But like when you're this involved in the passing game, which is just what their game plan is, 10 targets, 9 catches, 73 yards, 22 carries, like 32 opportunities out the gate is fucking crazy work. They just don't know how to not give him the ball. Even with 31 touches, like we still got Brian Robinson getting double-digit touches here. So C-Mac, I mean, listen, if he's on the field, like, and he's going to get 8 to 10 targets a game, it's Jehovah. It's Jehovah's Witness here. So great if you're a C-Mac owner. Ricky P, big day, 4 for 108, making big plays left and right. 2 injuries for this game, which are going to immediately boost guys like C-Mac and Ricky P to every week starters. George Kittle, hamstring. You guys are going to know as much as I am when it comes to a hamstring pull. Probably unlikely to be a grade 2, which would keep him out, 5 to 8 weeks. Probably a grade 1, which is typically something that would keep you out for, 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then you're usually good to go. It's your typical hamstring pull as far as I understand. So unfortunate for Kittle owners because he was obviously starting hot out the gate. Juwan Jennings with a shoulder injury. I'm not really sure this, any real details on this one. I'm going to see if Twitter has any updates on it, but could be an AC sprain. Let's see. Kendrick Bourne just signed with the Niners, which is probably not a great sign for Juwan Jennings. Fuck. That's not good. It doesn't sound optimistic. So we'll wait on word, but Kendrick Bourne signing doesn't feel like it's great. Could end up landing on the IR. Yikes. Yikensteins. All right. Well, that's an L. Seattle. We have Sam Darnold. We have the backfield, which is a shit show. I mean, everybody in the wide receiver group is kind of terrible outside of JSN. JSN is like quickly transforming into Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Seattle's version of Amon-Ra St. Brown right in front of our eyes. I think that's like one of the things that you need to do if like you're still unsold on a player. If you're like, this guy's performing well, but I don't really believe that he's the guy that his numbers back him up to be, or like that everybody else says he is, you got to find a comp for him and be like, oh, he's probably just like this modern day guy or this like up and coming dude. And that was kind of me with JSN. I like had a hard time buying it for a while, like last year when he like wasn't really doing shit in the beginning of the year. And then he finally popped off once DK Metcalf got hurt. Then I was like, okay, like JSN looks good, but like, and then it's like, okay, he's just Amon-Ra St. Brown, I guess, in Seattle. So he's going to continue to be a fucking beast out there because he had 124 of Darnold's 150 targets. That is ridiculous. Backfield. Is this concerning for Kenneth Walker? Yeah, a little bit. 12 carries for Charbonnet, 47 yards. Kenneth Walker, 10 for 20. Again, it's not like I don't think Kenneth Walker is a bad player. I don't think he's a bad running back. I think he's a very good running back. But the yards before contact, like he gets hit in the backfield every fucking play. And if that's the case, like they're just going to try to mix things up. They're going to put Charbonnet in. And I think like, would I panic if I'm a Walker owner? Yeah, a little bit. But this also feels like a situation where it's going to be a hot hand approach on a week to week where it's like, yeah, you could probably start Walker as a flex in situations. And like, if he gets hot out of the gate, there's a really good chance he gets 18 touches, like I don't expect it to be the norm that Charbonnet out carries Kenneth Walker or outplays him typically. But it's obviously a lot closer or too close for comfort, I would say, for this backfield right now. Snaps 59-41 in favor of Charbonnet. More rush attempts, more routes. Got short down, long down, inside the 5. Yeah, it was all fucking Charbonnet, man. The numbers are not great for Kenneth Walker right now, but hold out hope here. I don't really have a lot of positive to say. Not great. Packers Lions. You want to talk about not great? This would be that. The Packers, I got to be honest, man. The Packers look like they were playing in a different league yesterday. Holy shit. They were just having whatever they wanted to. I think it was a mixture of like Detroit lost some serious fucking sauce without Ben Johnson, and Green Bay with Micah Parsons is like next level. This was the opposite of the way that I predicted this. I thought Detroit was going to come out and be like, fuck y'all. We're going to run it down your throat. We don't care about Ben Johnson. Give David Montgomery fucking 42 carries off the rip. They tried. That shit did not work. That's on me, fam. Jahmyr Gibbs out here, 10 catches, 31 receiving yards. Lowest total receiving yards by any player in NFL history with 10 catches in a game. Brutal stains. Yeah, Goff didn't play well. The backfield didn't play well. Sam Laporta played all right. Amon-Ra played all right. I think this is a mixture of a few things. Green Bay is very clearly a very fucking good team. Their Super Bowl odds, the minute the Micah Parsons trade happened, went from, I think, 17.5 to 1 down to 12 to 1. Like, their defense became legit. Edrin Cooper might be like one of my favorite defensive players in the league. I think by the end of the year, he's going to be a household name. I think he's going to be a damn near all-pro player. Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, like shit is pumping out there in Green Bay, man. They are a good defensive squad. Holy hell. Yeah, I'm not going to panic yet on Detroit. Again, they got new OC, new DC, some new players on the offensive line. Might take a minute to gel, and they will have better matchups ahead than being in Lambeau at Green Bay. Tough week one. Love was good. Jacobs was good. The receiver group, man, disappointing day for Matthew Golden, obviously. I think that's probably the biggest talking point here is thought he was going to be an every down player. Jaden Reed kind of surprisingly gutted out this one with a stress fracture in his fucking foot. And if you see the routes run, we've got Dobbs at 74. That's not surprising that he led the team. Golden at 57, Jaden Reed at 52, Dontavian Wicks at 43. So it again looks like more of a platoon here where it's going to be very difficult to predict on a week-to-week basis what's happening. But you could also see that like the entire second half was just Josh Jacobs carries pretty much. And this is something that's going to happen, man. Like this is what Green Bay was last year. They want to win handedly and give Josh Jacobs a million carries here. So I think that's they kind of have a little bit of that Philadelphia Eagles effect here where it's like the game plan works for them. They're a really good team. They can do what they want, and this is what they want. You can win games when your quarterback only has to throw the ball 22 times. You're probably going to try to do that. So, yeah. Yep. I think every Green Bay receiver right now is like shaky flex territory. Rams-Texans, just a defensive stalwart matchup. The offensive line of Houston struggled mightily, as one might have expected. They're going to take some time to gel. In this one, Christian Kirk sat out. Nick Chubb operated as the workhorse here, 13 carries. The next leading rusher was Dare Ogunbowale with 2 carries. So this will be Chubb's stat line pretty much every single week. He'll be like 11 for 44, 13 for 62. Maybe they get on the inside the 5-yard line and he gets into the end zone. Maybe you can have a Javonte Williams game where he goes, 14 for 52 and gets in the end zone twice. Like that's just what you know what you're getting with him. You're just not going to be able to predict exactly when the touchdowns come. But that's what he is for right now. Terribly disappointing day for Nico. But again, it was awfully disappointing for basically every top wide receiver in fantasy outside of the GOAT on the other side of things, Puka Nacua. I've got to say, probably one of the better calls that I will have this summer is that, the 17 games out of Matt Stafford, we're very likely going to see a 2021 season out of Puka, a 2021 Cooper Kupp season out of Puka this year. He was, I think it took some fucking nuts to draft him at the wide receiver 4, but he was like the clear next up guy in that tier prior to the Stafford back injury. And if you were, strong enough, if you were emotionally tough enough to say, fuck it, we're going to fade the Stafford injury news and go with Puka regardless, there is no one that when I see this player in my opposing team's lineup outside of the quarterbacks of like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, those high-end guys, that I'm more like, fuck, I got to play this guy than Puka Nacua. Every time you look at the box score of a Rams game, it is Puka Nacua, 13-yard catch. Puka Nacua, 17-yard catch. Puka Nacua, 14-yard catch. Puka Nacua, 11-yard catch. Puka Nacua. I'm like, enough already, Can you tell that I fucking played against him yesterday? Every time you look, what's fucking crazy, actually? Look at this. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Where are you? Where are you, fuck? Puka Nacua. He only fucking ran 22 routes yesterday. 22 routes yesterday. And he had 11 targets. Every other time he ran a route, why am I even looking at the different website? They have it all here. 50% target per route run rate. That ain't going anywhere. That's going to be like this all fucking season. It's unreal. I kept saying it all summer, like the most valuable position in fantasy football is the motion slot guy in a Sean McVay offense. Puka Nacua's slot routes jumped up from last year, 35%, yesterday up to 69%. He's going to get 200 targets this year. And I fucking hate playing against him because he's so good. He's so good. Kyron took all the backfield work once again. It's just the same as last year. It's just the fucking same. Bills Ravens, ridiculous game. Unbelievable game. Derrick Henry looks better right now than he did when he was 25. He's just entering his prime, I think. I think we're getting 35-year-old Tom Brady, 33-year-old Tom Brady. Like, he's almost done. He's not almost done. He's not almost fucking done. I will say an intrusive thought I had last night after, the Bills went down and scored a touchdown. But over the next, 3 drives, 3, 4 fucking drives, whatever, it was the Ravens touchdown, 3 and out Bills. The Ravens touchdown, 3 and out Bills. After that last 3 and out from the Bills and the Ravens scored again, there was a thought that went through my mind where I said, I think we might be watching the greatest football team ever assembled in the Baltimore Ravens of the year 2025. Those are intrusive thoughts, right? You can't hold me to it, but I also can't help the fact, okay, I did lie. You're right. Josh Allen did lead the league lead the NFL in passing yards in week 1. I said that, and then I was like, no way he did it. But he fucking did. Almost 400 yards. See, you see this fucking stamina going into the last game of the entire week. Game 15 right now, I got the same fucking stamina that Josh Allen has. Bottom of the 4th, what are we going to do? We're going to finish strong. I thought to myself, holy shit, we are witnessing the greatest football team ever assembled right now in the 2025 Baltimore Ravens. They did whatever they wanted. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, you have 2 of the greatest players at their position in the history of NFL just dominating on the field right now together. It's just fucking incredible what they do there in Baltimore. Derrick Henry, amazing. Lamar, amazing. Zay Flowers, monster game. Mark Andrews, absolutely the woat. But this is, one of those teams, again, we know this. Lamar Jackson, 19 pass attempts to 29 carries for their offense. So if you're not the guy getting the targets in that game, you're probably not going to do very well. And it was simply just Zay Flowers there. So not great. For Buffalo, Josh Allen, again, almost 400 passing yards. James Cook, very tough matchup. Was, very unsurprisingly going to struggle on the ground, but he did get into the end zone and he did catch 5 passes for 58 yards. So big PPR day. Still his backfield completely. Huge day from Keon Coleman. Great to fucking see this. So the way I watched this game, which was kind of elite, the way this worked out. So I actually fell asleep around halftime. Yesterday I was up very early. I fell asleep around halftime and Baltimore was obviously winning. And I woke up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and I couldn't get back to sleep. And typically when I wake up in the middle of the night, I need to watch TV. I'm like a fucking child. I need to watch TV for 30, 40 minutes before I can fall back asleep. So I put it on and obviously it was already ended, but that meant I could watch the game and fast forward as shit was happening. So I was able to watch just the drives, right? And skip the commercials. So it was kind of sick. It was watching, if any of you guys have NFL Plus and you watch the replays, but you watch the condensed replay version where every NFL game's 35 minutes the next day. It's elite. That's basically what I did. So I was able to watch and watching the second half. I mean, Keon Coleman, the way Josh Allen and Keon Coleman were connecting was great to fucking see. Keon was not a guy I was trying to draft this offseason. And I got to be honest, I don't know how many game scripts are going to go this way where the Bills are giving up 40 points and trailing by 20 points in the second half, where Allen's going to need to throw the ball 40 times. So again, this is another example this week where I think some of the target shares and the target totals were pretty inflated, but just great to see him have pretty much a career day here. 8 for 112 touchdown. He was catching balls all over the field, operating as a true possession receiver. looked phenomenal, and could be in store for a big breakout year for Keon Coleman. So good to see Shakir, his normal 6 for 64. Palmer relatively involved, 5 for 61. Kincaid, 4 for 48 and a touchdown. He had a nice touchdown score early on in the game, which, 4 targets on 46 pass attempts, not great. So I don't want to really hang my hat on just the touchdown there. But yeah, man, that's I think that's the recap for all the games in this one. We will be doing a waiver wire video as always every Tuesday. So make sure you are subscribed for that. If you enjoyed this stream, hit the button that looks like this down below. It lets me know that you guys enjoy this and you want me to keep doing them, because I tell you what, my throat would love to never do these again. But if this gets enough thumbs up, I will continue to do them, of course, for you guys. Waiver wire video tomorrow, running back rankings video on Wednesday, wide receiver rankings video on Thursday, and then I'll probably mix in a few trade target videos throughout the first half of the year. I got to be honest, like everyone doing like buy low, sell highs like 6 times a week in week 1 is kind of the most insufferable fucking behavior in the fantasy industry. It should be genuinely illegal to tell someone to buy low or sell high after 1 week. Like if I see a fucking video that says buy low on Jamar Chase, I actually might quit it all. I might end it all. Shit pisses me off, all right? But yeah, one more shout out to Fantasy Life. As I said, the Fantasy Life Utilization Report, one of the best tools in the entire industry. Go to fantasylife.com. Any subscription that you end up purchasing there, you will get 20% off with code BDGE at checkout. Shit is phenomenal, right? So good, so smooth, great product. One of the best tools to help you dominate in fantasy football this year, right? Fantasylife.com, any Fantasy Life Plus subscription that you purchase on their website, you will get 20% off with code BDG. Oi, I love y'all. I will see you tomorrow for the waiver wire video. Subscribe to make that happen. Smoochies.